Hi everyone, thank you for coming. I wasn't expecting to have as much people because yesterday I was meeting one of the speakers, and he asked me what I was going to talk about, and I said I'm the one talking about AI, and he said we hate AI, and I was like, oh. We kind of see it because when I was trying to look to some tools to integrate AI into PHP, there are none. So you kind of reflect what you are thinking about AI. This is really funny. So just to know, who hates AI here? Really don't like AI? Kind of? Yeah, okay, we have one courageous people saying that. Okay, cool. Just to know. So thank you so much for coming today. I will talk about integrating generative AI into API platform. Is it a good idea or not? Does people here know about API platform? Yes, okay, good. Yeah, last time I was in a conference and nobody knew about API platform. That was fun. So my name is Laura, aka DevGirl on the internet, really original. So I'm a full stack web developer. I'm not a PHP developer like professionally, so that's really fun to always come to a PHP community to speak. I'm a WorldSkills Belgium gold medal in 2020 and 2021, so I'm from Belgium. And I also create content on the internet, especially on Twitch, about coding and technology. So this is the most technical part of the conference. On Twitch, there is 1 underscore. On Twitter, there are 2 underscore. And on Instagram, there are 3 underscores. Or you can just scan the QR code. If you want to send me an email, don't hesitate, of course. I would be happy to answer. So it's been 2 years now that I started to give a talk that I absolutely love giving, which is the history of computer science through women's portraits. And some of you might already heard me talking about that way too much. As I keep giving this talk, I realize how it is important to have representation and how it can truly help, especially young and not so young women. So I decided to create a community-driven open source project called Impact, which stands for Initiative for Minoritized Pioneers and Achievements in Computer Technology. I insist on I'm trying to, because I don't have time, so I love to have my community around to try and help me. So the goal of this project is to centralize as many sources as possible about women who have revolutionized the computer science field. And even if it looks like a wiki, I really wanted to build a database of facts, achievements, and sources, which makes it a perfect playground to have fun with generative AI. So the idea is to generate the women's biographies using models like GPT, Claude, Mistral AI, etc. But where to start? So this talk won't teach you how to create your own AI, but it will give you the keys to integrate a pre-trained model into your API platform project. Let's start with two little definitions, all right? So artificial intelligence is the ability of a machine to display human-like capabilities such as reasoning, learning, planning, and creativity. So this is the European Parliament definition. And we also have the generative artificial intelligence, which is a subfield of artificial intelligence that uses generative models to produce text, images, videos, and other forms of data. So these models learn the underlying patterns and structures of their training data and use them to produce new data based on the input. And here is a list of the most recent models that you can find today. So we have the GPTs and O series by OpenAI, Claude with Anthropic, Mistral has Mistral Large, Codestral, and of course Gemini 2.5 Pro and Flash for Google. But you also have new actors entering the generative AI scene like DeepSeek and GrUSP. Yeah, the emoji is on purpose. So, before beginning to integrate your AI, you must take the time to think about how do you want to use this AI and to ask you several like really important questions, especially about challenges and legal and ethical issues. So what about challenges? The first one will be the resource consumption. So large language model requires significant resources, especially in computing and memory. So when you want to implement, to integrate an AI into your API and into any project, you will first need to think about how you want it to be hosted. Do you want it to be local, on the cloud, or using external services like the API of OpenAI? So implementing techniques like caching and optimization must be necessary to try to minimize direct call to the AI. You also have the response time. So the time required to generate the text will depend on the size of the model you will choose and also the complexity of the query, right? And in an API, long delay can affect negatively the user experience. So don't hesitate to find some techniques also like pre-generated content or also using smaller or lighter models to improve performances. You have the model fine-tuning. So while general purpose models are very powerful, sometimes you need to adapt them to specific case, specific domain, historical biography, for example. And for that, you will need to fine-tune them. But we will talk about that later. And finally, you have the really hard to say this word, interoperability in API platform, which work with doctrine entities and well-defined resources. So you will need to take care of the design of your endpoints to be sure that the data sent to the AI is in the correct format, but that also your API returns the data with the established standards. Almost done with the talking. It's about now ethical and legal issues. And I think that these questions are very important. And that's really funny because when I'm giving this talk, it's only developers in front of me, right? So we don't really have, when you are working for a company, you don't really have the power to say, no, this is not good, not using AI because of that. You don't have that power. But I think it's always important to know what you are doing and outside the code only. So the first one is the ownership of the generated content. So who holds the rights of the text and the creation generated? This can become really complex when it comes to editorial and artistic content. You also have the information reliability. For biographies, for example, it's crucial to verify the accuracy and the truthfulness of the generated information. So setting up a human review to ensure the quality of the content may be necessary. And then, of course, you have the bias and the inclusion. AI models are built on massive data sets that contains a lot of biases, gender, racial, cultural, and so more. So you need to have safeguards to prevent those biases from influencing the generated content of your project. And then finally, we have the data privacy. If your API, your project is using user data, you need to protect them, protect it, and of course, comply the regulations like GDPR, and of course, please tell your users how you use their data. All right, so we talked a lot. We know everything. We know what we want to do. We answer the question. We are protected legally. We are protecting our users. No, okay, what tools to use? Well, as I said at the beginning, there are not a lot of tools. There are no official SDKs for PHP. So either you're doing it manually, or you're going to use the extremely rare frameworks existing. One of them is, for example, Tectalic. No, I'm kidding, is not maintained anymore. You also have LLephant, which is kind of unstable and starting from PHP 8.1, and also OpenAI PHP, which is a community-driven project that help people, the PHP developers using, integrating the OpenAI API into the project. So you have a package for Symfony, for Laravel, for PHP, etc. Also kind of unstable and starting from PHP 8.1. For the sake of the simplicity for this talk, we're going to do it manually and using the API of OpenAI. But of course, everything I'm going to say here now would be applicable for any AI that have an API, of course. So let's dig into the project. This is an overview of the database that I have, and you can see that the entity, the person entity, is the center of the project. You can have several characteristics and information that are all linked to the entity person, and also every information has a source linked to it. So this is my person entity. Okay, the joke is not funny anymore though, but I still have the slide. So here are the properties of my entity. You have the ID, the name, the Romanized name, and the biography. So I want to store the generated biography, like the caching, everything, you know. Then you have the collection, so the different information about linked to this entity. Okay, first step is getting an OpenAI key. First, so I just wanted to ask, who already tried to use OpenAI, the API of OpenAI? Oh, wow, I'm not gonna learn anything to you guys then. Who lost a lot of money because of that? Nobody, okay. That's good. Okay, so first you create your OpenAI account, you generate a key, you test the key, and you put the key inside the .env file. Then we can finally start the manual integration. In API platform, no, I'm going too fast. First of all, of course, you have to install the dependency that will help you to do the request to the API. Here I'm using a Symfony HTTP client. And then we are going to create what we need to be able to call our API. So here in API platform, we are doing like this. We are going to create a service, a state processor, and then after we're going to create the endpoint. So first of all, the service. The service will do the request to the API of OpenAI. So first of all, let's take a look at the structure of a request to the API of OpenAI. So we are going to target the chat completions endpoint. It's a post request. Your API key is a bearer token. And inside the body, you can say which model you want. And inside the array of messages, you can give the prompt. But as you can see, you also have the temperature. Temperature, what is this? This is an internal parameter of the model you are using. And please take the time to look at all the parameters that are available to the model because sometimes you can be surprised. For example, here the temperature, what it is, this is a number between 0 and 1. So higher values like 0.8 will make the output more random, while lower values like 0.2 will make it more focused. And if it is set to 0, the model will use log probability to automatically increase the temperature until a certain threshold are hit. Well, you don't really know what is going to happen then, and as you can see, the default value is set to 0. So sometimes getting a 0 to temperature will not suit your use case. So it's always interesting to take time to read all the parameters available and how they act. All right, so this is not really, is it big enough? Can you read a bit or? No, no, okay. It's pink. We love pink, of course, wait. It's pink and it's dark. So here is my service, OpenAI service. As you can see, I have my HTTP client, my API key, which I will use an auto wire to get directly the value from the .env file. And what is going to interest us here is the getResponse method, where I will do the request to the OpenAI API. And using only, oh, this is not the right code. Okay, and then after I can put the headers and of course the body, so JSON, which will normally create it directly this, so I can remove it. Yes, I love to debug during conferences. And as you can see, I can give the prompt to the messages. I give the temperature, max token, which is another parameter. And here I'm using GPT-4o mini, for example. All right, let's go back to the presentation. When you have your service, you will be able to call it from the state processor. So if you know API platform, this framework lets you create API, REST API in like 4 lines of code. This is really easy. But if you want to have a custom endpoint doing custom things, you will need to add something more. Here, I'm using a state processor to be able to call the OpenAI service that we just created. So first of all, I verify that the data is an instance of person because this endpoint is linked to the person entity. Then I get the temperature, max token, the prompt. You really want to see the, I don't know why, but this is the create prompt function. I found that really ugly and I love to show it. So I don't know, okay. And then you can generate the biography by calling your OpenAI service. Then after you store your biography into the DB, and here, I don't know, in the middle when I was writing this talk, I was like, oh, let's also have the generated prompt. And so as you can see here, I also have a new one that wasn't here before, a new property on the person entity that will let me use the generated prompt into the client to show to the user. And as you can see, it doesn't have the ORM attributes, so it will not persist in the DB. This is something we can discuss. Is it good or not? I don't think it's good. It should persist, but well, whatever. And then you can return your biography. Now that we have the processor, the state processor, we can finally define our endpoint of the person entity. So here I create a new post request with the URL generate biography. I give the processor, so person biography processor that we just created, and of course you add some security, of course. Is it time to try, to test? Yes, okay. I cross finger, all right. Let me, upla. So here, do I have internet? Am I connected? Okay, so this is local, right? The credential you're gonna see are not the, the real one, okay? Hopla. Thank you. I'm connected. So as you can see, this is what the project looks like. So here you're gonna have a list. So now I have 2 in local, but on production we already have kind of 160, something like that. And you can click on someone. So Grace Hopper. Who knows Grace Hopper here? Oh my. Oh my. The compiler. Yes. COBOL. This is her. I never say it was a great invention, but I mean, she did it. And so here I have a little button generated biography. As you can see, I can tweak the temperature and the max token, even if I put a default value to temperature. And by clicking here, normally, please, okay, it's working. This is a perfect example of someone who didn't listen of what I said just before. There is no caching, there is nothing in about performance optimization, so you just have to wait until it's generated. So let's wait for it. You waited 1 minute just before for the other talk. So, and so here we have a biography of Grace Hopper in a Wikipedia style, I must say. So as you can see, and at the end we have a beautiful prompt, really readable, that you want to read every day. So it's working. It's not the best thing, but it's working. Okay, now that we have seen how to do it manually, so let's just go and see LLElephant. Does someone already tried LLElephant here? No, never heard of it? You? Was it right? Good or bad? Yeah, okay, A or B, C, okay. I'm kidding, sorry. So LLElephant is kind of the same thing we just did manually, so it's gonna offer you several services to be able to use the API of several AIs. So we have OpenAI, we have Mistral, we have Olama, we have Anthropic. Um, yeah. So like that, you see that it exists. We are not going to talk about that much longer, but like that, you know that there is already a framework kind of integrating all those AIs. All right, fine tuning. So now we answered all the questions. We have integrated an AI model into our API. Now we need to fine tune it to be sure that it will produce right results for our use case. But what is fine tuning? This is the process of taking a pre-trained model like GPT-4 and training at least one of its internal parameters for a specific use case. Whereas training a model from scratch requires billions of data points, fine tuning requires significantly less. And one important thing to know is that OpenAI showed that fine-tuned, in the other side, a smaller fine-tuned model can outperform a general purpose much larger model. So for example, here we have instruct GPT with 1.3 billion parameters. When it is well fine-tuned, it can outperform GPT-3 with 175 billion parameters, but not just 10 times more, 100 times more. So this is something that OpenAI showed and tried. So this is kind of really good. So it means that you can use way much smaller and lighter models, which will improve and increase the performance of your API and projects. Okay, but how can we fine tune? How can we do it? There is three main ways to do it. The first one is the self-supervised learning. So as base model are trained, you have a training corpus, which is a finite set of texts selected for study, and you will give it to your model to let it train itself. This is kind of magic. And then you also have the supervised training. So this is the opposite of the other one. Here you're going to say to the model, you're going to give to the model a data set of input and outputs. You say to him, to it, sorry, wow. I'm speaking French, so we don't have the neutral. Let me process it, thank you. So we have, so you say to the model, you have an input, and with this kind of input, you should give this output. So this is much more precise, but the data set will take more time to be built. And if you want better results, you can also give a prompt template. And the last one is the reinforcement learning, which is the most complex and also time-consuming, but with the better results. It's always like that. And for that, you will need two things before. The first one is a supervised fine-tuning, and the second is training a reward model. The reward model will score the answer of the model based on the training a human will based on how a human trained this reward model before. Once you have all of that, you can start the reinforcement algorithm. So you give a prompt to your model, the model gives its result to the reward model, the reward model score it, and then give it as a feedback to the model, and it's going to look like that. Of course, if the reward model and the model are not really well set up, trained, etc., it could be really funny at the end of the loop. All right, so for example, let's imagine that I'm going to do it and apply to my project because, of course, I didn't have the time to. I want to use a supervised fine-tuning. The first step is to choose the fine-tuning task. Here is writing biographies, historical biographies. Then I prepare the data set. For example, I can get some biographies from Wikipedia. Then I choose a base model. Here I stick with the GPT-4 or Mini. And then you launch the fine-tuning. And then after, of course, always evaluate the model's performance. Testing. There are no French people in the room, right? Okay. I don't know why. So this is something we say in French. But apparently in English, we don't, it's not something you say. Testing is doubting. So developers are saying that because it means that when you're testing something, you are not confident in your code. Looks like a male alpha issue. Et hop là, diversion meme. This is kind of the related testing is doubting. Of course, I'm kidding. Please test your API always, but this is not the topic of the conference here. Now that you have everything, of course, you always have to protect your API, and especially with AI, or it will cost you a lot of money. So the first way to do it is authentication. Of course, you do it as you want. I'm sure you're pretty good at it. Then you also have the rate limiting, all right? So you must limit the number of calls made to your API. You can do it through API platforms configuration. You can also use services like Redis, but also please do configure properly your OpenAI projects, because you will find that there are a lot of things already there into the settings that you don't really see if you don't look at it. For example, there is a rate limit inside the configuration of your OpenAI account project. All right. All right. Small words. This is my favorite part. I know that people don't really like it a lot. But, before ending this talk, I wanted to give a few words about issues and especially ethics about AI. So my feeling towards AI are mixed. Like, technologically, this is amazing. This is impressive what we can do today. And on the human side, this is kind of a catastrophe. And here are two examples for that. Is the first, the lack of transparency about resource usage. We don't have numbers. If you have numbers, like official numbers of data centers hosting AI, please come see me, give me the numbers. But as I tried to look at it recently, we don't have official numbers. We only have estimations. And I think that if these numbers were kind of cute and gentle, we would have already those numbers for a long time now. So I don't know if you see what I mean. And also the fact that AI models are built on decades-old biases. If you want to look at the most iconic database used to train AI, you have WordNet and ImageNet. Funny, because ImageNet is built on WordNet, so it's kind of, I lost the word. I'm a developer and I lost the word. It's okay. No, when the function call itself, thank you. I'm sorry. So the recursion is really funny. And so the thing is, we don't know how these data are retrieved. We don't know how they are used. And nobody really talk about that. So I wanted today to just give a word about that. And also the fact that all these data has to be labeled before using it, before being used to train an AI. The AI cannot guess the word or the image without a label. Be sure that the people that are labeling those data, those millions and billions of data, that are not really well paid. So you might ask, well, so we stop progress then? We cancel the progress? Of course not. Of course not. Progress is important. It's just, I'm thinking about the fact that we should put again critical thinking into our way to continue this progress, to invent new technologies. And this is a sentence that I heard one day and I absolutely love, is that today too many tech professionals act without thinking, and the ones who do think are often disconnected to the technology, which is not normal because you are developing product to be used by human. Well, so that's true that if we begin to do that kind of thing, we might slow the progress down. But do we really need, this is the cheesy moment, do we really need to have such a fast progression? We are already struggling with all this flood of information hitting us every day. So, I mean, as I said, I'm for the progress. Like, I'm deeply for the progress, but not the kind of progress I'm seeing today. And before leaving you all, please read. So the example I talked about the database and the lack of transparency and how the data are retrieved and everything, this book is amazing. It comes from this book, so the Atlas of AI by Kate Crawford. You don't need a technical background. If you have one, it's not boring. Please, please read it. This is really like amazing information to know about that. And of course, I put a little read the fucking manual. I'm really proud of it. I thought of it. So before ending and before doing that, leave me 1 second. I just learned about Laravel. So for the women in the PHP community, if you want to join a group of amazing people, and by the way, the founder is present here, but she's doing the MC in the other room. Don't hesitate to go and talk to her. Don't hesitate to join this group, of course. And for the people who are not concerned by this, so for example, men, so 90% or 95% of here, but you want to help, please don't hesitate to follow them on the social media and to share what they do, to share everything they put in place. Sorry? For men? Oh yeah, okay, good. Thank you for the detail. And of course, before to end, I want to thank also my Twitch community for help and support me. And this is a hell to help me and support me in my projects like Impact that I never finished. So, well, and thank you all for listening to this talk.